In America's cities and towns today, flags will be placed on graves and cemeteries. Public officials will speak of the sacrifice and the valor of those whose memory we honor. I have no illusions about what little I can add now to the silent testimony of those who gave their lives willingly for their country. Words are even more feeble on this Memorial Day, for the sight before us is that of a strong and good nation that stands in silence and remembers those who were loved and who in return loved their countrymen enough to die for them. Yet we must try to honor them, not for their sakes alone, but for our own. And if words cannot repay the debt we owe these men, surely with our actions, we must strive to keep faith with them and with a vision that led them to battle and a final sacrifice. Our first obligation to them and ourselves is plain enough. The United States and the freedom for which it stands, the freedom for which they died, must endure and prosper. Their lives remind us that freedom is not bought cheaply. It has a cost. It imposes a burden. And just as they whom we commemorate were willing to sacrifice, so too must we, in a less final, less heroic way, be willing to give of ourselves. Each died for a cause he considered more important than his own life. Well, they didn't volunteer to die. They volunteered to defend values for which men have always been willing to die if need be, the values which make up what we call civilization. And how they must have wished, in all the ugliness that war brings, that no other generation of young men to follow would have to undergo that same experience. As we honor their memory today, let us pledge that their lives, their sacrifices, their valor shall be justified and remembered for as long as God gives life to this nation. And let us also pledge to do our utmost to carry out what must have been their wish, that no other generation of young men will ever have to share their experiences and repeat their sacrifice. Earlier today, with the music that we have heard, and that of our national anthem, I can't claim to know the words of all the national anthems in the world, but I don't know of any other that ends with a question and a challenge as ours does. Does that flag still wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? That is what we must do. Thank you.
Give me status. Sir, we're tracking a special ops team under fire in Qatar. They say they're survivors of the base attack.
Survivors?
I ain't never seen this in my life. Need gunships on station ASAP.
Predator's coming up in a minute.
We're linking the call to the nearest AWAC.
I'm no man, I'm a man. If you seen this shit.
Predator ETA, 2 minutes.
What is that?
We need air support, and we need it now. Roll in strike package Bravo on unknown target. I authenticate Tango Whiskey at time 0300 Zulu.
Attention all aircraft. This will be a danger close fire mission.
Weapons, I just get a call from Falcon Ops. Who's closer to Killbox 1 Alpha?
Send the Hawks, sir.
Okay, send the Hawks over to Killbox 1 Alpha. It's a danger close within
Switch the
300
Hawks
feet.
to Killbox 1 Alpha, 300 feet, danger close.
Friendly's in the area.
7-man team north of Orange Smoke.
Proceed Killbox 1 Alpha. Gauge hostile.
Attack direction west. You're cleared hot.
Strike, tell me status of all right now.
Hog 1-1, Dark Star status.
Lennox, the heat's coming. Laser target. We got a beam rider incoming. Lay target. The heat's coming. What?
Receiving radar 2 to be in the vicinity of target.
No freaking way that thing's still not down.
Spooky 3-2, use 105 shells. Bring the rain.
Be advised, ground teams requesting 105 Sable rounds.
Begin to tell your story. It's hard to imagine that one man could change a university, a program, a town, and a team as much as you have. But here you are. Your story started on a tarmac in Tuscaloosa, and sure, there were some challenges to overcome, but you believed in the process.
And what I would like for every football team to do that we play is to sit there and say, I hate playing against these guys.
Little did anyone know, 2009 would end up with a crystal ball in Pasadena and the first Heisman Trophy in school history.
Heisman Trophy is awarded to Mark Ingram.
But it wasn't just the trophies you were after. You cared for this town and its people. When disaster struck in 2011 and a tornado tore through Tuscaloosa, you and Miss Terry were the ones who believed we could rebuild. You didn't run from adversity. You attacked it. Sure, LSU won the first time in 2011.
LSU remains undefeated.
But not the second.
LSU and Alabama.
Your back was against the wall so many times, but you and your team fought its way out.
We control it right here.
2012,
Celebrations begin. Alabama wins.
2015.
Captain Drake can fly.
The Alabama Brotherhood means something. Just look at 2017. Jalen cared about one thing, the team.
Wouldn't be surprised if he gets a shot.
And Tua entered. And then, magic.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
But as you always have, you saw the bigger picture. And in 18, the roles were reversed. And you had an unwavering belief in your players like you always have.
I'm so proud of this guy for what he's done this year. I can't even tell you.
Fast forward to 2020. You saw a time where you had to stand for something. You listened, trusted your players, stood with them, and they believed in you. It ended with more hardware.
To the top of the college football mountain.
But the hardware was never what you were chasing, was it, Coach?
National champion.
No, you were after the relationships, the growth, the standard, the love of the game. And not to mention, you had a heck of an assistant coach to help you do it. But now, Coach Saban, the next chapter of your life begins.
Roll Tide, baby. Here we go.
And you get to do the one thing that maybe you aren't great at. Rest. Maybe the whistle won't be around your neck and the headset is tucked away. And now, instead of coach, you'll hear Papa, Dad, Brother, and Nick. Your process may change. The process you taught so many, that will live on forever. Coach, what you've built isn't going anywhere. The standard isn't going anywhere. And believe it or not, your story is still being written. So as you embark on your next journey, continue to enjoy the memories. Cherish the moments. Continue to love the process. And as you said best, Coach, this isn't the end. This is the beginning.
I want everybody here to know, this is not the end. This is the beginning.
From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. We are a nation that has a government, not the other way around. And this makes us special among the nations of the earth. Our government has no power except that granted it by the people. It is made up of men and women who raise our food, patrol our streets, man our mines and factories, teach our children, keep our homes, and heal us when we're sick. Professionals, industrialists, shopkeepers, clerks, cabbies, and truck drivers. They are, in short, we the people. Their patriotism is quiet but deep. Their values sustain our national life. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We will maintain sufficient strength to prevail if need be, knowing that if we do so, we have the best chance of never having to use that strength. Above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Well, I believe we, the Americans of today, are ready to act worthy of ourselves, ready to do what must be done to ensure happiness and liberty for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I pledge you that we shall neither commit nor provoke aggression, that we shall neither flee nor invoke the threat of force, that we shall never negotiate out of fear, and we shall never fear to negotiate. Terror is not a new weapon. Throughout history, it has been used by those who could not prevail either by persuasion or example. But inevitably they fail, either because men are not afraid to die for a life worth living, or because the terrorists themselves came to realize that free men cannot be frightened by threats, and that aggression would meet its own response. And it is in the light of that history that every nation today should know, be he friend or foe, that the United States has both the will and the weapons to join free men in standing up to their responsibilities. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner.
The path we have chosen for the present is full of hazards, as all paths are. But it is the one most consistent with our character and courage as a nation and our commitments around the world. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. and the others too. I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute. Where no Catholic prelate would tell the president, should he be Catholic, how to act. And no Protestant minister would tell his parishioners